All right. Hey there, everyone. I had to make sure we were actually going here before I started. But hey, everyone. Welcome to the show tonight. I've got a fantastic guest on. I've talked to him over the past a week or so, reached out to me. And then ever since then, I've been going through all of his YouTube videos, Defenders USA. We've talked on the phone. And I'm just super excited to have you on because I think this is a really good subject for the preparedness community and something that just like the first aid and things like that, that we could do a little bit better on. And I think it's always a good thing when gun owners, regardless of whether they're preppers or not, or just average citizens, learn more about it. So I'll let you introduce yourself, let you know what you're up to, your classes, your YouTube channel, your website, your history. You've got you used to be a police officer in the military. I mean, I'll let you go through that whole spiel and go ahead and sell yourself. But yeah, let everyone know who you are and what you do.
Well, first of all, Dale, honored to be here on your show. It seems like you have quite the good one here. And it seems like you have a pretty good audience too, from what I can see. It's impressive what you're doing.
Thank you.
So my background, or again, my name's Adam Lynch, and I run a company called Defenders USA. If you can see it back there, but my background, nothing big. I grew up in West Africa as a missionary kid, so came back to the States when I was about 18. So I'm still trying to learn English, but came back to the States and then immediately ran off to like a military college. So think like VMI, West Point, Citadel. Later, U.S. Army, went in as an MP or military police officer, and that got a little boring after a while. I didn't want to really do that. I was really focused on the goal of becoming a civilian cop and thought that'd be a good stepping stone. So, of course, got deployed. Went off to Kuwait, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, those type of places, and then later moved into, like, if you know the acronyms, PSD, SRT, QRF, yada yada. Did some cool stuff. Got to deal with some pretty good soldiers and who were really squared away, and most of them were cops or some variation of that in their civilian life back home. So I got to spend time around those people. And then later, police officer in Colorado. You're in Colorado, so same thing as police officer in Grand Junction, Colorado, which is on the other side of the mountains from where you're at. But
Beautiful area, yeah.
Yeah, so did that for about 10 and a half years. While I was there, SWAT team, street crimes unit, trainer, and then, of course, patrol a large majority of the time. And that's kind of where it all started. The way it turned into Defenders USA as a training company is, as a cop, I got tired of seeing the victims of crime. And so therefore I kept thinking that the folks that I run into on a daily basis, right, who've been the victim of crime, they need the same type of training that I and my buddies have. So ultimately it turned into where I started teaching on the side, really just for pizza money and just for fun and pizza money. And then it kind of grew and grew. And eventually I was able to take it full time. I've now been running it full time on the civilian side for about 10 years now. And now we range literally from Texas to Montana with our main headquarters in Grand Junction. And I'm opening up headquarters in Arizona. But I just got back from teaching in Texas, and I'll be teaching in Montana and Salt Lake and Missouri and Kansas and Colorado. In fact, I'll be teaching at a national conference in Colorado next week. And then in June, I'll be right where you're at, probably 20 miles from you in Colorado, teaching there too. So it's grown way bigger than me, which is what the plan was, right?
Yeah.
I'm just one knucklehead here teaching people how to shoot guns. And now there's some incredible, wonderful people that I've either conned or tricked into joining me because they're that good. And we've got some incredible instructors up and down the Western U.S. And I'm just so honored to be a part of those people and to just reach out and touch as many people as possible. In my background, with my civilian, military, and law enforcement, because I did training in all those areas, I'd say, have now trained probably between all disciplines of close to 25 to 30,000 people, civilian, military, and law enforcement. And I just want to make that bigger and bigger and bigger as we bring good stuff to good people who desperately need the type of things we do.
Yeah, absolutely. We got Maxie here in the chat. She said, Australia here, disarmed but not defenseless. Yeah. Australia is beautiful too. Unfortunately, yes, she's correct.
And don't mess with the Aussies. I worked with a couple of those boys and they're tough.
Yeah. So in this show today, I did you sent me a few of the different videos, some of your videos that you like, and I've gone through a couple as well. I've got a couple clips of kind of what you do as far as with the training, some of the techniques that I think will be sort of not interesting to preppers. I mean, to everybody, but the types of things we talk about as preppers all the time. We think about when things get bad and what we're going to have to do in each situation. So that's why taking a course or a class or something like what you teach is really important, because we were talking the other day, and I think most, and I'll include myself in all of this that I'm talking about today too. So I'm, for everybody listening, I'm not trying to get on a high horse. I'm nowhere near Adam's level, but we tend to give ourselves a little bit more credit than, what is actually due, because in situations that do arise like that, whether you're talking an everyday situation, somebody trying to get your stuff, or you are talking about some true disaster situation where people's morals go out the window and they just don't care. And basically they're going to come try to get your stuff because one, if they know you have the stuff, and then two, if they didn't have the foresight to plan ahead, they're coming straight for you. Yeah. And to think that we're just going to, like crack open the door and chase them off might not work out that way. You have your thoughts on that, correct? We were talking about that the other day.
Yeah. I mean, take somebody like you, right? Or I saw a show you did recently with a local prepper who looks like he's on here.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, he's in the chat. What's going on, local prepper?
Yeah. So take somebody like you two boys, right? You guys have some pretty good training. Let's say, like, especially the local prepper, let's say that man did not have a moral compass. If he didn't have a moral compass with his type of training, or somebody like me, if I don't have a moral compass with my kind of training, I look at the standard prepper and go, wait a minute, you're just my stuff bank, right? You banked up a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm going to come get your stuff, because if, bad things have happened and society's shut down, then you know what? I'm going to come get some free stuff. And so that to me is where part of the training comes in, right? Yeah, you can have all the stuff in the world, the preparedness, the mindset, which the prepper community seems to do really well. But I think capitalizing upon the training is also a big part, because the more you build this, the more the stuff works. The more stuff you have and the less you build this, the more you're just keeping stuff for somebody else. And for me, I want to be able to give my stuff to my family, to my friends, use it for our benefit if that day ever comes. And so to me, the one area I have skill in is a little bit of shooting and stuff, and then communicating it into people. So that's where I'm trying to come into the equation. I forgot to add this when you asked earlier, but kind of the training. So just to let people know a little bit about what we do everything from, we do a lot of corporate training. Like just last week, we ran a real estate agent safety course, which, if you know the real estate market, it's literally one of the most dangerous professions in the world, right? We run church security safety courses, school active shooter courses, you name it, a lot of stuff that's corporate there. But then we do everything in the handgun world. We're literally training very beginning handgun, teaching grandma good cookies, all the way up to teaching like special operations and SWAT guys and stuff like that. So we go extremely advanced in the handgun world, to where it's not just standing static on a range, but it's low light, no light. It's in all sorts of unconventional positions. It's in units, or it's in individuals. I mean, it's truly the A to Z to handgun fighting. Then we also run into like fighting rifle type stuff. So think standard engagements for 5.56, 223, 308s, that type thing. And then we also run a lot of long range precision shooting or sniper craft, to where we've, and I'm the least one to do that. We got some really smart people in this company, and though I can do it, I can teach it, I'm the worst one for it. I kind of run the handgun, the fighting rifle side for the most part. Those boys teach all the long range stuff, and man, they're just geniuses with that stuff, to the point where we as a company have now been able to train literally SWAT teams, special operations, and then a lot of just good Joe Jane civilians to do that, right? Not just shooting at a long distance, but being also able to move in bad terrain, in and out, make shots, get back out, the sniper craft side. So really, if it's guns anywhere, with the exception of kind of shotguns, if it's guns anywhere, we do that. So that's kind of the idea behind it.
Cool. Hey, real quick, Robert had a comment in the chat, and I've got. I'll let you answer this too, but I've got a sort of something I want to say on this. He's like, he said, "What about the kids getting shot in driveways, wandering down the wrong driveway, ringing the wrong doorbell? Those things that have been going on lately." And I think to me, this is the other side of what you do that needs to be taught as well. Because I don't know all the ins and outs, and I don't really think anybody does. But if those people had and this is just my opinion, if they had a little bit more training and were, a little bit more disciplined, I suppose. I don't know that, and like I said, I don't know exactly what happened, but it seems like with a little bit more discipline, you don't just taking classes like this. You don't just go out and willy nilly. You get this great skill, and then all of a sudden you're just out, doing whatever you want. It also teaches you that discipline, right, to not do sort of things like this possibly could be. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, isn't that the same thing? Like if we go stick our kids in some taekwondo class, ninjutsu, whatever else, from beginning, we're teaching them not only the skills to use force of some type, but really to also restrain the monster inside, right? To give it moral chains, if you want a sense, or some idea of consequence if used all higgly piggly, right, wrong. So really, I think part of it is that, with the ownership of guns comes great responsibility
Mm-hmm.
to not just use it in anger, to not just use it in frustration, to not take out your anger on, okay, some kid ding dong, or what do you call it here in the States, door ditched or ding dong ditched or whatever you call on your door, to go out and just shoot at those people or shoot those people because of that. I mean, that shows a deep lack of a moral compass within, and to me that's by far more important to train than the skill itself, whether it's guns, anything else. And so yeah, you're completely correct that the training thing is part of, one, becoming good at the skill, whatever that skill is, but two, of really becoming good at it, but also not using it unless you absolutely need to for the defense of life. And just because
Mm-hmm.
somebody maybe drove wrong down your drive, or they hit your doorbell just because they're kids, I mean, that's just a murderous intent right there. And those people should pay a definite harsh price for that because they didn't train the heart, right? The heart
Yeah.
is the more important part. And I think that spending more time in training the heart, right, whether you do that religiously or however you do that, the heart and the soul is far more important than the tool. So fix that, then learn the tool, and make sure the two go together.
Yeah. And the guy, I mean, just could have been scared for whatever reason that was, that he was afraid. But it just, I don't know, it just seems a little, and I'm not going to spend the whole show going down this rabbit hole because we got so much to talk about. But for some reason, it just seemed like it was the wrong reaction and overreaction, something to that extent for, the guy with the kid in the driveway.
So, and I
So,
got to tell you, I confess, I have no knowledge of the story, but unfortunately, as a cop, right, I've seen this several different times, right? It's not an uncommon story, so I don't know it, but from what little I can tell of it, it sounds like he went to them to shoot shots. Maybe it's outside. I don't know. But to me, if you're scared, why not just lock yourself in the house and
yeah.
call local law enforcement, right? The house is a barrier. So, I mean, unless somebody's like Molotov cocktail in your house while you're inside from both sides and can't get out a window, or they're shooting through the walls, your house is in a way somewhat of a bunker. Stay there. Why go seek trouble if you don't need it, right? The best fight you're ever going to get yourself into, or defensive gun use you're ever going to get yourself into, is the one you avoid in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So why go to it if you don't need to, and why instigate it?
Yeah, just like police officers, I don't know exactly what the saying is, but it's the most amount of force needed to de-escalate a situation
Yeah,
is,
yeah.
and that goes for gun owners as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, really, if you can do it in litigious America, it's the least amount of force you absolutely have to use to be able to prevent or stop something bad from happening. And that's a thing, right? In our current civil society, whether you think it is or not, it's still a civil society, right? Taking martial law into your own hands is always a bad solution. It's going to have a bad outcome for you. So therefore, I mean, using the least amount of force possible, and when it is time to use force, when it is time, when it's righteous, legal, moral, when it's time, then now it's everything you've got. It's all out. But until that point, right, the bonds of morality, the bonds of society should hold us there because that's what's needed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we'll get into that morality part of it towards the or later in the show as well. But this kind of got serious, and I want to lighten it up a little bit and show people your personality a little bit. I played this video last night on the live stream, but after watching this, it was like, okay, I've got to get the backstory because I didn't watch the whole video. But let me play just this part where you were basically going off on the keyboard warriors out there and all the, the trolls and all that. I'll play this real quick and then get your thoughts on it.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen, Adam Winch here with Defenders USA. I got something to show you. This gun right here, this blue thing, this molded piece of plastic, it assassinated President Lincoln, right? It took down the Hindenburg. In fact, this thing dropped the bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. This thing fought the Nam, right? And oh my goodness, it has killed millions of people. According to the comments that had come in on my YouTube channel recently, right? I did a demonstration releasing on one of our shorts, and it's gotten like, I don't know, close to 1 million views, where I was holding this blue gun. And people lost their freaking minds, right? Why? Because they saw this, and even on the screen it said it's a molded piece of plastic that's a training tool. They don't see that. Understand, this is a training and demonstration tool to be able to use in an environment for training and demonstrations.
All right, so what I was kind of thinking, let me turn this off. What I was kind of thinking, because I watched a couple of your other videos, there was one you did where you were talking about why you're always shooting left.
Yep.
Is that the video that this was referring to?
Yep.
Is it? Okay, yeah, because I was watching that, and there was kind of a shadow, and I was watching how you were handling it, and I was like, okay, this has got to be what he was talking about.
Well, I didn't even know at the time that video was being shot, right? Somebody else in the class was videoing that. I'm in the shade. You can't quite see that gun's a blue gun. It just looks like the silhouette of a gun. So
and of course, people on the keyboards.
Yeah, naturally, they didn't read the text on the screen. They just did the quick assumption. And, everybody's got to be a ninja and everybody's got to be angry. So it turned into a massive cesspool of comments when they weren't there. They didn't know what was going on. They had no idea. Everybody else knew it was a blue gun, a dumb gun, a rubber a piece of plastic.
Yeah.
But it was in a demonstration on how to grip a gun and why shots are not going where they're at. And in there, it turned into quite the thing.
That is probably the best example I can think of right now of why not to listen to people on the damn internet, because a guy with your experience, your decades of training, if you were to make, an actual mistake like that, knowing who you are, the little bit that I do, and who you are as a person, you'd probably be like, okay, I'm in the wrong field. I chose the wrong field. I'm going to go, flip hamburgers or bag groceries at the grocery shop.
There you go. I mean, we've all pulled a dumb thing here or there, but that one, no, I don't think so.
Yeah, but that just shows you, man, the internet, if somebody can make themselves feel better about being right about something and just say something and take off and not have to worry about, the answer or anything, it's the way the internet is, man. I thought it was hilarious, though. Great response.
I got to where I had a real good glimpse into the tighty-whitey wearing, a mustard stained shirt, eating Cheetos in the basement, internet warrior, right? So I had a good feel for those by the time that was all shook out after about 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah. All right. So I do have a couple other clips of your stuff too that I want to play a little bit, but I want to talk a little bit. You were talking about the class that you're going to be doing out here. And we were talking about this a little bit the other day, and you were saying it's a 3-day class. The first day is a lot of legal stuff, and then you do some of the shooting. When you do your classes, is that how they're basically all structured, or does it really depend on the class? And kind of go through how that class is structured.
Okay, so it kind of depends on what we're doing and kind of what the audience requests. In this case, I'll be in the Denver area because I'm doing, I think, 2 or 3 days of corporate training for a large company in the Denver area. And then on that Friday evening, I think it's like June 9th or something like that. I'll have to look on our calendar. But on that Friday evening, a lot of their employees I'm gonna have a legal course, which is really a concealed carry course, but it's the most in-depth legal course I've ever seen of any concealed carry course, right? So it's extremely in-depth legal course that can also be used as a concealed carry course for the state of Colorado. So that's just so in depth. It's so in depth that I get cops, I get attorneys, district attorneys that come to that course because it's really a deep dive into taking law school and making it practical in English versus legalese that makes sense for the defender.
Mhm.
Okay, so from there, then the next day, it's all on the range the next 2 days, so Saturday, Sunday, and it's starting out with our handgun fundamentals class, which sounds like a fundamental class, and it's not, right? I can take, the guy or girl who's never touched a gun and turn them. We can generally turn them into really good shooters very quickly. So it is a beginning class, but it's the most in depth I've ever seen that I know of so far, and I've been a lot of training. And so that way, it's so in depth that I get cops that come to these things. I get real shooters, like world-class shooters that come to it. The next day after that, it takes all the skills that's learned in the fundamental class and it goes far more progressively. And we move into speed, accuracy, and movement. And I'm talking like speed from the holster. We're talking like Wyatt Earp type stuff, but also managing recoil at high degrees of speed with acceptable to highly precise accuracy, which is what you need in a gunfight.
Mhm.
And then we get to where we start moving that into also movement with a gun. Because if you're going to fight with a gun, especially a concealed gun or one you've hidden away, you're probably moving offline, you're falling down, you're tripping, you're running somewhere, you're trying to get to cover. And most bad guys don't want you to get to cover. So they don't tend to ambush you while you're near cover. So that whole thing in gunfights or in training where they say, okay, pull your gun, go to cover, then shoot. That doesn't happen in gunfights. Sorry, it just doesn't, right? You're usually having to fight your way to cover. So we're doing a lot of movement while we do this, but we're also having to work acceptable accuracy, meaning combat accuracy, all the way to precise accuracy while you do that at extreme speeds and movement. So that's what that course is over those first or second weekend of June there in Colorado. Where you take a month later, I'm doing a course up in the Salt Lake area with Jeremy Horn. If you know who that is, right? One of the top MMA guys, UFC guys in the world, Hall of Fame type guy. And that's a 2-day fighting handgun concepts course where now, I mean, it's extremely dynamic. You're rolling all over the place, fighting in and out of cars, extreme close quarters. So there's that. And then like the class I'm teaching or just taught this weekend in the Phoenix area, that was a very basic, slow and easy, smooth class. So the class is very dependent on the audience, where I'm going to, what they ask for, and what the need is. So if I get a call from like I'm teaching a, a police department here soon, well, their needs are completely different than some other needs, right? And they'll be training a SWAT team soon. Their needs are even different than the patrol guy on the street. And then those needs are completely different than the civilian has. If it's a mom defending herself, or it's a guy who's just going about work and he's like, hey, I need to get better with the gun, but I also need to work from concealment and be able to do it quickly and reliably. So the training route varies a bit depending on the need of the person.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And if anyone's interested, you said you're starting to, expand quite a bit. As far as, different states, how would somebody find out if is it your website where they could find out if there's a class in their area? Or
Yeah, our website for now, and it's in a matter of transition. We have a new website coming out hopefully next week. We've been thinking that for a while. So hopefully next week. But the current website, I'll have more classes up that'll have like 10 days of training in Montana. Right. I just finished some courses in Texas, and I don't think I'm back in Texas till November again. And that's in Lufkin, Texas. So think Eastern Texas. In Colorado, I'll be teaching there next week, and then in June, and I think in July, and then in August. Arizona, I teach there quite often, even though it's Hades hot here during the summer, right? We teach here and we get a lot of people that'll come to that. And then Salt Lake, I think I'm in Missouri in September, I think sometime. So if you look on the website, you can see most of those. I haven't posted up some of the Arizona courses. I haven't posted up some of the Montana courses, but I think the vast majority of the others are up.
Cool. And sort of on that, while we're talking about your training and stuff, and you were talking about being able to move. I've got this video clip that I want to play. It's with you, and I believe her name was Kathy. I keep forgetting her name. You told me like 3 times. Kathy?
Sweet lady.
And the reason I want to play this because the first part of it, it's you doing it. And I wanted to show this just for contrast, as far as, because you've been doing this for a long time. You've got the training. You are, aces at this. And then Kathy, when she does it, and this is nothing against her, she is the typical person. I mean, she probably is doing this the same way I probably would the first time. And this was her very first time doing this. But like, this is what I envision a lot of my audience too, probably the same way. Now, got a lot of military guys that, in the prepper universe, and, a lot of different backgrounds and stuff. So it's not everyone, but I have a feeling there are a lot of people, that are in that same position. So I wanted to play this a little bit. But I will play this. This starts off with you basically showing everyone how it's done. So
on the shot clock, you're going to draw, fire 2, go to kneeling, safely controlling the gun, fire 2, go to seated, safely controlling the gun, fire 2, then back on your back, safely controlling the gun, firing 2, then you're going to stand back up, safely controlling the gun however you need to, and then firing 2. And we're going to check the points based on the B8 and also the time. It's not really trying to do this quickly, it's just finding out where's your body at and where are your skills at, because if you understand fighting with a gun, oftentimes you do go to the ground or in unconventional positions. So I'm going to give it a try. Ninja over here is going to give it a try, and we're just going to see where we're at with this. And it's one I think is a worthwhile one to do, and I challenge you to go try this one too. Ready? Oh, stop.
all right, so I think you did that. I think that one was like 12 seconds, and you did another one was like 10 seconds. Give a little backstory on what this drill is before I go into Kathy doing it, which I think is more realistic for the average person like me out there.
Well, and then you pick the worst of the two. Come on now.
Yeah.
Yeah, even Shank too there. Okay, so give me your question again, so I've got it.
Get a little bit of backstory on why you decided, and this was a brand new drill I think you did when you first did this, and why this is, these different positions is helpful. You also did a video on Warrior Life that talks about the same thing in, different fighting positions, but you go into a lot more detail. By the way, before you answer that, I've got all these links that I'm talking about in the show notes below. The Defenders USA website and YouTube channel, all these links I'm talking about are in the description below. So sorry, go ahead. I just had to let everyone know.
So here's the basis behind this. One, it came to me in the middle of the night, probably about a week before this, and I just thought this is something needed to be done. And here's the foundation of why. As a police officer, I got myself into something where I had to use a gun in defense of life. Had to be very precise because I didn't want to shoot my partner, right? But I had to shoot what was attacking him. So at the time, I was fighting with somebody else on the ground, and I had to roll from my wherever I was to my back, drawing the gun to shoot. I had to roll up to kneeling to shoot, and I had to go to standing to shoot in the defense of life. And I found so often that the static range training that I've been through, and I've been through a lot of training, we rarely, if ever, do anything but standard static range stuff, or maybe you'll move a bit. So to me, this was just a realistic type of thing that people need to know how to do. And really, you got to fight with the body God's given you, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe you are the broken old soldier, the broken old warrior, or maybe you're the guy or the girl who's got back issues, neck issues, mechanical leg, whatever, right? You're in a wheelchair. You've got to fight with what you've got. And so therefore, as long as you can control a gun safely and well, learn what your body can do. And everything, I think, when it comes to shooting guns is a balance of speed and accuracy. So you got to know what your body can do. But you've also got to have the balance of both speed and accuracy, because there is a timer in a gunfight. We don't know what that is. Mr. Bad Guy gets to choose that, right? Those attacking us. So the more quickly and the more efficiently we can do that, the better. But you also need to know what the efficiency of your body is, and find those positions you can get into quickly if you need to, whether you've got to stand back up or go back down. Sometimes we don't know what's the fastest way for me to do that, and then practice that, because just like anything else, if you myelinate it, or people oftentimes misnomingly and poorly call it muscle memory, if you develop myelination or muscle memory of that, you can now do it a lot easier subconsciously versus having to think it through. And the last thing you want to do is learn to do this stuff in the moment, right? Learn how to do it now. Know what you're efficient with and capable of, and work on those things so that's your body flow up and down, but also your shooting skills. And if they're like, you see the two bullet holes like me that decide to miss, if you're a bad shot like me, go learn to be a better shooter.
Yeah, there was a better one. Like I said, go watch the whole video. He goes into more depth, but yeah, there was a better one. Was that 10 yards?
No. Well, so I like this at 10 yards, but because this was a new drill for Kathy, I put this one at 7.
Okay. Now, when I play her, like you were just talking about, this is less about her, or it's not about her time at all. It's like you were just talking about, it's getting used to seeing what you're going to be able to do. Somebody at your level, there's a little bit of competition to it, right?
Yeah.
But for her, I just wanted to play this because this is kind of what probably a lot of us would probably expect. With me, I guarantee you the getting up after laying down, because I haven't practiced that and done that, would probably be pretty similar to this. But I'll finish playing this video.
No rush. Don't worry about the clock. The clock's an indicator. You take care of you. You be safe with you, okay? All right, nice and easy. All right, let's move you up just slightly. All right, there we go. All right, let's shoot at the 2. Are you good with that?
Yep.
All right, here we go. Stand by. Finger off, there we go. Clear it, finger off. Finger off, safely, safely. Good, good. And cease fire. Go ahead and safely, reluctantly holster.
All right, so if I ever do one of your classes, I'm going to make sure and practice that before I even go, because but it especially the laying down one, because like you were talking about, you never know. You could be running, you could be tripping over something, falling and have to shoot from a prone position. So all of those, I think it teaches you a lot more than just pointing at a target and just going for it. So all of these things, that's why I think, classes like this are so important.
And I would agree with you, right? The next progression of this is you being in these positions already before you draw the gun, right? Because it could be that you get yourself attacked, don't even know it's happening. You get shoved down, knocked down, tripped, something like that. And now you're fighting under pain, shock, and surprise while you're already down on the ground. And so now safely drawing that gun from there and then working yourself back up while you maybe engage wherever you do so, that's just as important a skill as starting at the top with it. So that would be the beginning of it. And then I think that if you see some of the other videos, you just keep ramping it up and ramping it up, as long as people can do this thoughtfully and safely.
Yeah, yeah. I think this is Laura, Defenders Live. I know it's not you. So,
Yep.
Is it true that a few rangers will allow you to shoot from those positions? Also, should you try this first with a dry gun?
Yeah. So this is a really good point.
Oh, and that was the beginning of the video. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a really good point, right? The vast majority of ranges out there are not going to let you go out and just do this, right? In fact, a lot of ranges don't even let you draw a gun. So if you're going to go to an official range, you got to check with them first. And if it's a range that doesn't allow it, then I'd strongly suggest going to them if they know you, they know your training, they know you're safe, saying, hey, can you make an exception for me? What are they going to do? Say no? Send you back to Iraq? If they say no, they say no. Okay. So in the meantime, if you can't do it, or let's say you can, I would strongly suggest you do it with a dry gun. Don't do it with a live gun. Do it with a dry gun. I mean, go get a water pistol, steal it from your kids, a little squirt gun or something, work with that. And this is something you can do at home, right? You can You can do this at home with a dry gun, meaning there's no rounds in there, but finding a safe place, you could work through these with a dry weapon. And I'd strongly suggest that's a good way to start with this until you know you can keep your finger off the trigger in transitions, because a lot of people keep their fingers on the trigger when they go to move. They put a hand down, they push up. That sympathetic reflex of squeezing the hand could crank off a round and do bad things. So therefore, learn to be able to do this, learn to manipulate it on a dry gun or a fake gun. Only then take it to some place where you can do live fire. And if you can't do it at your range, for those of us who live out in the West, BLM, right? Go out to some desert, some mountain, something. But I'd strongly suggest you take medical supplies that, hey, if you're a prepper community, you should have in the first place.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe go somebody else who can apply that to you if you decide to mess it all up, or somebody else does. So go do it safely, but have the medical there so that you can take care of things if things do, God forbid, happen. But now work through it to where you're thoughtful with it, to where you can get faster and faster and be unconsciously competent at it.
Yeah, very, very good point. And that sort of leads me to, and we'll just get into it now since we're kind of talking about it, but after somebody takes a class, one of your classes, what are some things that they can do at home? Is like an airsoft gun, or like even Brandon said, BB gun, something like that in the backyard? Is that something that's really feasible? I mean, I know it's not going to be the same as far as if you're trying to get, in that 1 inch square in this, one of these videos that, I don't know if I've got it or not, but, you may not get the accuracy, but is it feasible to use something like that, or just, the blue plastic dangerous gun?
Yeah, I completely the dangerous. Yeah, so completely feasible, right? Airsoft BB gun. Now, here's the one caveat I'd say: if you live within a jurisdiction that views BB guns, even airsoft guns, as bad tools, right, that can end you up with a class 1 misdemeanor ticket or something like that. So be thoughtful of that depending on the location you're in. Right. So if it's a yard where somebody can see you out there hopping up and down with an airsoft gun or a BB gun and it can get you in trouble, I'd suggest go somewhere that's not going to get you in trouble. Right. The last thing you want to do is get a little cop love just because you pulled out a BB gun to practice. Right. But if you can do it some way safely, that's a great way to start. I would start with a completely downloaded, whatever it is you do. Then if you have the access to airsoft or something, paintball, try it that way. But then when you get the time, go to the live gun. So yeah, a good way to start, except for the dangerous blue gun I'm seeing Brandon saying.
Yeah. I've actually got I've got a Smith & Wesson Shield that it's a 40 caliber that I carry. It's a concealed carry, which I don't have my concealed carry permit because the class that I took, like you were just talking about the whole legal thing, I didn't feel was good enough. So I just didn't feel comfortable. I wanted more training, and they were pretty lax about it. So, but I have that, and I use that for, like practicing drawing and things like that. And it fits in the same holster that my shield does. And it's sort of similar. So I use that for that. The airsoft aspect of it, I think it basically arcs out of the gun. It's not real expensive. So I don't know how well it would do with that, but.
So you mentioned two things, or you mentioned things that brought two thoughts to mind. First of all, I'd love to sit down and have a conversation with you sometime about what are the right calibers and the right types of guns for the defense of life and why. I think it's a huge and really important conversation that's deeply missed. The other one is, right, you talked about, okay, I didn't feel like I had enough training there for the concealed carry permit or whatever else. I fully get that and understand it. Let me complement it by saying this. I think that we as the defensive-minded people, we should be a law-abiding, moral, sane, sober type of people, if I steal a term from active self-protection, right? But you should be those people. But I think you have three main responsibilities, at least while society is still currently somewhat civil. Three main responsibilities as a gun owner. One, you must know the laws of your laws of your jurisdiction, and you need to know them as well as the Johnny Cochran is going to come for you, right? Because if the world suddenly goes bad, right, at some point law and order will come back, right? Or if the world doesn't go bad as quickly, but you still have to use a gun, you still got to stand in the courts of man. And you must know it as well as the Johnny Cochran who is going to come for you if you happen to use a gun. That's just going to happen. You have to count on that. Okay, so that means you must know your law well, and it must be updated. You got to know it to the depth with which it can truly stand the scrutiny of the court. Number two, you must be really good at the mechanical skills. That could be your rifle, that could be your handgun, and I'm talking at the speeds with which defensive life things happen. Unfortunately, too many people think that, okay, I can take my time, I can set up, I can aim, I can take that nice, precise shot. Sorry, gunfights don't happen like that. I can tell you, they're very quick, they're extremely violent, and they never happen the way you really think they're going to happen. So therefore, the mechanical training for expertise takes a lot of time, effort, and thought, which is a limited resource, right? Especially in the prepper community, you're doing so many things to prepare that adding that to it really in depth is a hard thing to do. But guess what? I think you have a moral, I'd say even legal responsibility to do so, but at least a moral responsibility. So you must know your laws well, and you must be mechanically proficient, I would argue expert with the defensive tool you have, because we live currently in a highly litigious, high-risk environment, so you must be good at it. Next and last, but just as importantly, you need to prepare for the massive aftermath, right? Think about what the prepper community is doing. They're preparing for the aftermath, right? That's what they're doing. Let's say the world doesn't end. Let's say, I don't know, it's not Wolverine's time, right? It's not whatever. It's still a current society as it stands now. The aftermath of your defensive gun use is going to change your life 100% completely. It will radically change your life. Dale, I'm going to presume you and your sweet little wife have been together for some years, right? Let's say you two boys and girls have been together for 50 years, right? You love each other. You know each other. I don't know. You grew up drooling on each other in the crib somewhere in the nursery somewhere. You've known each other that long, and you've been married forever. You use a gun defensively, you have extraordinarily high, I'd tell you close to the 80 percentile chance that within 3 years, the moment you go bang with a gun for defensive life in a legal, moral context, that lady's going to leave you for somebody else. She's going to divorce you, not because she doesn't love you, not because you didn't swear on for life, but because it changes you so much, so completely, and affects your entire world in so many different ways. She finally goes, I didn't sign up for this guy. This is a whole nother different person. And it affects her so much that oftentimes we see the strongest of marriages or relationships come apart. You lose friends. It changes your family. It changes your life. It changes everything. So you must prepare. 1, to know the law well. 2, you must be mechanically proficient, and that's a perishable skill that you need to constantly update on a continual basis. And 3, you must be prepared for the massive civil, emotional, criminal, legal, mental, financial, and I would tell you relational aspect of the defensive life aftermath. And that's a lot. So therefore, there's one more aspect. If your community hasn't deeply thought about it, I urge you to do.
Yeah, yeah, and that's that's said beautifully. A lot of people in the chat also saying a fantastic topic. It wasn't that I'm not comfortable carrying a gun or anything like that, but it's like what you were talking about. I didn't feel like I was taught enough about what the actual laws were, and I wasn't comfortable. It's the act itself and what follows and all the things that I'm supposed to do. I just didn't feel like I was. Like they gave me enough information. Like I needed to go out and find that stuff out. And this was a few years ago, before I even thought about it.
That's what's so commendable about what you said, right? You're sitting there going, "Wait a minute, I'm not an attorney, right? I've probably not lived my life as a cop and in the court systems." And, I went to some dumb little concealed carry class, and like they all do, it's just really just a quick stamp to get you out the door quickly.
That's what it felt like.
You don't learn that much. It's good people with good intentions who don't know anything that are teaching this the vast majority of the time, right? And so therefore, too many people have the experience you had. And I would tell you, you're making it's a balanced decision. But I mean, until you have more, I tell you, the smart people are doing what you're doing, going, wait a minute, I need to know a little bit more before I truly commit to this. And I think that's commendable. And, either come to the one I'm doing or find one of the few really good ones. And they're rare, but find one of the few really good ones and get that training that way when you can.
Yeah, absolutely. And I recommend that for everyone. My wife is even worse about it than me. She wants because this is, you're talking about a firearm. You're talking about something that takes somebody's life. This is not something that should be taken lightly. And unfortunately, it is taken lightly by a lot of people in this country, which leads to the whole bad name of the what was I? The stigma about, that's the word I was looking for, around guns in this country. I was watching a video of yours the other day, or you did, or Laura did a live. You were on it too with what was his name again?
Last night, yeah, Akil.
Akil, yeah.
Yeah.
Aggie or something like that is what he said to call him. But he was talking about the stigma around guns and the stigma around the whole gun culture. And it's so much easier these days for people to just talk about them, how they're bad. People that don't understand what it's like. And it is, it is good to take classes like this. It is, even if you're not a gun owner or, you're kind of thinking about it, go find out what it's actually like. Don't listen to the politicians that are telling you stuff they don't know what they're talking about, or all these people that have heard so many times, guns bad, guns bad, guns bad, that, it's really not. Once you start, it's sort of like prepping. Once your first idea about preppers is everybody's wearing a gas mask and hiding in their basements and, all these things. But once you get into it, you realize that it's just average people that want to do good, that are preparing for something that possibly could come. And gun owners are all the same people. It's nobody really, gun owners just want to go to the range and play. They don't want to actually have to get in these situations, but they want to be ready just in case some of this stuff happens. So explain a little bit more, I suppose, about what, with that the gun culture and that stigma that surrounds it, what Agib was talking, Agib, I can't say his name. I don't.
Ak or Akil. Yeah.
Ak, that's right.
There is a real stigma, and I think that's been purposely fostered by the part of the U.S. population that hates guns and those who like guns, right? Mm-hmm. That's purposely fostered. I mean, we're always going to be portrayed as the wild-eyed, crazy nut jobs, right? That's their mission. So I think because of that stigma that's there, that if we are the prepper, if we are the gun owner, and to me, those two things are parallel tracks. They should go together, right? If we are those people, should not we individually be the most thoughtful, be the most respectful, I would say, the more quiet, the kindest, the more careful in our comportment, our demeanor, our words, and in our actions. And if we do that, then maybe we individually have an ability to start affecting the narrative of the stigma that's out there. And the unfortunate part is that stigma is going to live whether you and I like it or not, whether we live it or not. But the only thing we can do is affect that on an individual basis. And if we go out and live our ways in the way that I think that has a chance of beginning to let people know, hey, the ones that aren't truly committed to the fact that we're just a bunch of nuts, that, hey, this Dale guy, yeah, he might be a prepper. He's got a gun guy. He carries a gun. But you know what? He's kind. He's careful. He's thoughtful. He's this, he's that. He's not shoving it down my throat. He's not, just crazy about it. Now we begin to let them know, hey, maybe it's not quite the stigma you've heard from Hollywood, from the politicians on the other side of the aisle, that maybe they are the good people. And I think slowly but surely, I'd like to hope that surely but slowly we can begin affecting the generalized, stigmatized perception people have of us, because we can only do it one at a time. And being the loud, braying sound in the room never helps anybody. So I don't know if that fully answers the question, but I think it's an individual responsibility, and we should be the leaders of that in being the best portrayal of who we are.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that too is the education aspect of it. If people would just take a little bit of time and understand it before they spout the talking points that have been pounded in their heads, understand what exactly it is, and understand what, law-abiding gun ownership, safe gun ownership, all of these different things, how that is completely different than the stuff you see on the news and the things that are going on in the news, and, the stuff that makes the headlines.
Well, and the preppers that I've met, right? I had a huge push to try to reach the prepper community, at least in the two areas I've lived, Colorado and Arizona. And I'll tell you, the ones that come to me are not much different. The ones that really truly consider themselves preppers are not much different than the average gun guy or gun girl. And I don't tend to get the wild-eyed, crazy, tin hat foil wearing type of people. I just don't. They tend to just be the kindest, most thoughtful. I mean, they have skills I wish I could have, right? They're so good at so many different things that I wish I had those type of skills. They can widget anything together. It's just amazing. They understand medical and electronics and hydroponics, and they understand so much farming, things that I don't know. And it's just so interesting to see what a good set of people they are that to me changed the narrative I thought when I first thought of preppers, right? Because I didn't know the prepper community well. And then as slowly got into the training world, you're like, wow, this is a whole huge community. And man, the ones I'm seeing, they're good people. And that's part of changing the narrative.
Yeah, and that's been my experience too, doing this for, a decade plus, is all the people that I've met we've done some first aid classes and things like that, and just normal everyday people that are just good people. People that listen to the show, email me and stuff like that, just good people. Now, just like every group, you've got your outliers and all that stuff, but that's with everything.
Of course.
But it's the same with the gun owners, right? Somebody thinks about going to a gun class and they think they're going to have some Rambo type just giving them the ugly stare, just scaring the crap out of them before they even get a gun in their hand, and they're like doing that stuff, and it's totally not the case.
Well, there are those. There are those.
The drill sergeants.
Yeah, the knife hand, right?
Yeah. Sort of on that, though, I've got time for one more, so I'm not going to get to all your clips. But like I said, everyone, and everyone listening to this podcast as well, the links will be in the show notes. The links are down below. But sort of on that, the whole morals thing, and, we talk about when society sort of falls apart, whether you're talking about just something that's a week, something longer, something that's really local in your certain area, and how people's morals fall apart. I watched a video with you and your father talking about, and I can't remember what it was titled. It was about how Christians can grapple with the whole firearms thing, self-defense, basically. And your dad went through, I was going to get a clip of it, but there was, your dad's a pastor. And just going through so much different, really, really cool, important stuff that it was almost pointless to even try to get one small clip. But I think there's a lot of Christians already know what you're talking about. There's probably a lot out there that are sort of on the fence with that, as like, hey, how can you, it's supposed to be peace and love. How can you, rationalize something like that? And then you've got the people that, really don't care about Christians and all that, and use that as hey, you're supposed to be a Christian. Why do you, how can you justify doing something like that? Explain if you can, because that was a very long video and a lot in it. Just, how some of the things, why it's okay for you, why you feel okay as far as what you teach. And if it did come down to a situation like that, in your heart, you'd be okay with it.
Yeah. So my dad's a deep theologian, right? And I think that was around Thanksgiving, probably 3 years or so ago. And it's really, what does the Bible say about the defense of life? So for me, I mean, I was clearly not called to preach. I even went off to a Bible college and university for a while, and God made it very clear, you are not called to preach. You're not the guy. So he led me in other areas, which happens to be, military, police, all that stuff. So to me, it became a calling, right? Somebody's got to be the giver of justice within our society and the protector of those who can't protect themselves. And well, that was my calling. But it came down to, when it comes down to the defense of life, right? What guns do is, well, in certain instances, they might provide food, sport, and everything else, but they also kill people, whether good or bad. So therefore, it came down to, is it okay, right? The same thing like Sergeant Alvin York from World War I, right? Struggling with, hey, do I go kill? Do I not? Because the Bible says don't. But when you study it well, you find out very quickly, it doesn't say thou shalt not kill. It says thou shalt not murder, right? And that's a completely different thing. Murder is a premeditated thing where you go out and hurt somebody because of your angers, your jealousies, or whatever, or you just want their stuff. It's a completely different thing when it comes to the defense of life. In fact, if you're looking at it from the Christian perspective, Christ himself told almost 20% of his disciples, right? He told at least 2 of you, sell your cloak to go buy the self-defense weapon of the era, right? Sell your coat. Yeah. If that's all you got in life, sell your coat. So at least 2 of you out of the 12 are armed with the assault weapon, the defensive weapon, whatever you want to call it, of the era, which just happened to be the sword at the time. So, right, if Christ himself is saying, hey, I want at least 2 of us out of the 13 of us total able to defend life, that's about 20% of their population right there. Should we not also take the same tact? Right? Should we not also take that same thing? And maybe you're not the person who's called to be the defender of others, but maybe, and I think you have a responsibility to defend yourself or at least your loved ones. And if you believe in that, right, you may need to square that with your God, with your soul. Sit down with your Bible or whatever you believe in and square that. And I've done that. I've done that deeply. I've done it through a lot of different study. And, I see over and over and over where righteous violence is not only requested, but commanded in the Bible. So to me, if I'm going to be the giver of violence, it must be righteous. It should fit the laws of our society if we have a society, right? It should fit the moral compass of the populace as a whole, but it also should fit the moral compass if I stand before my God, if I stand before my wife, or I stand before a jury, and then I also stand before my own heart that I can live with. So therefore, it became a thing where I based my giving of violence, if I ever have to or have to again, it's going to have a legal basis of morality that I can literally pull it straight from the Bible and be comfortable when I stand before God someday. He'll say, well done, thou good and faithful servant. Because no different than taking out the trash, which I've got to do tonight because it goes out Friday morning. Sometimes we got to take out the trash, right? Sometimes we have to be the one who stands in the gap. Sometimes we have to whatever, and it may be your calling. And for me, my calling is to be part of the tool to help people become better, more efficient defenders. And I want you to also square that with your God, because that day may come.
Yeah, exactly. And you said it a few times during the show. If you're going to have to do something like that, make sure it's morally. I forget how you phrased it, but it's a moral, righteous. I can't remember how you said it, but make sure it's all the right reasons. Back when we were talking about the guy shooting the kid in the driveway and things like that, make sure you're doing it for the correct reasons. Real quick, White Rabbit in the chat. Hey, White Rabbit, how you doing? First of all, I was just told last week, sell your cloak and buy your weapons. It resonates with me. I've made peace with my God about this issue. No murder, but self-defense. Yes. Yeah. And I think that's what a lot of people that aren't Christians don't understand. Some Christians maybe grapple with it, but people that are, I mean, my father, huge Catholic, and he's got lots of toys. So never had to do anything like what we're talking about, but he's got lots of toys and no bones about it. But yeah, that's just an interesting topic, because that's one that either non-Christians throw out and say, how can you're a hypocrite or whatever. And it's not the case. If you read into it, like that video your father did, he brought up like 5 different examples of stories in the Old Testament that were about that. So yeah, very cool. We do have time for one more clip, and I wanted to play this. This is you and I believe another officer. I can't remember who he was, but you guys were doing. I think this is pretty cool because it shows what you do, or one of the things that you do at your classes, and also as just the average gun owner, we see the way officers, we see the military or people in movies that have actually been trained to move and shoot at the same time. We see how they do that. And it's sometimes it's completely different than the way we move. So you did a really good job of explaining the process. So I want to play this video real quick. This one's a little bit longer. This is like 2.5 minutes. And then at the end, I cut it off, but you continued after that because, and I'll let you explain this, he moved off to the side to reload. And you can, after this, I'll let you explain what that was all about. And again, just like all these clips, go watch the full videos because there's much more context than the little 2 minutes that I got to play here. But let's play this real quick.
Now, let's say I'm going to my target. If I need to pull this gun and move towards the target, not only am I going to be on target, I'm going to be off the trigger if I'm not going to, if I don't think I'm going to shoot. But for me, if I want to take a really good precise shot, I'm not just clumping my way to the target, right? Because if I just clump my way to the target, if you guys see it, if I'm just clumping my way to the target, the gun's moving too. So I want to stabilize from, say, the waist or really the hips up. Think of it as your Cadillac suspension system. I want to really allow the lower portion to absorb all movement, recoil, whatever, where I want my upper body to be more stable and solid. So I let everything below the hips get kind of squishy, right? Cadillac suspension system, where up top gets solid. And then two, as I move, and I don't know if you can see this in the camera, as I move forward, I want to just generally take smaller steps. So let me go this way. Let me go this way. So I want to take smaller steps. It's really small steps, and I keep my feet closer together, and I just move them out just barely an inch or two beyond the toe of my back foot, and it's more of a heel strike roll to the toe, heel strike roll to the toe. If I take big steps when I hit, if you notice, it drops the gun. So smaller steps, really engaging the hips and the knees, allows the gun to stay more stable. So here we go. So I'm just gonna move towards my target and notice the movement. Okay, so it's very small steps, very small steps. Yep. On you, brother. Moving.
All right, so right after that, like I said, I didn't want to play. If I'd just played all of your videos in this, we wouldn't have had time to say anything. It had just been a show of Defender USA's videos. But after that, he was going to reload and he moved to the side. Explain what you were talking about with that and why that's a good idea.
Okay, so that dude's a warrior, right? SWAT cop and all sorts of stuff. He's a tough boy. He, without any planning ahead of time, did what I've trained to do for years, and we hadn't planned this out. He just literally, as soon as he was out of ammo, he moved offline as he reloaded, right? Which, to me, movement is life. If you're standing still, fat, dumb, and happy in a gunfight, that's death, right? That's how we put you in a body bag. So if you're not behind cover, you should be moving. But if you're going to be reloading or fixing something, why not move laterally offline, getting out of the way of what Mr. Bad Guy's trying to do? Because understand, Mr. Bad Guy's trying to probably put bullets, bombs, baseball bats, I don't know, F-16s and nuclear bombs in your body space. You're vacating your body space. And the further you go with that, let's say lateral motion offline, the more you make him or her work to do that type of thing. And the more you make them work, the more tenths of seconds you buy. And in the speeds with which defensive gun uses happen, tenths of seconds mean things. So we're always buying time in a sense with movement if we can. Now, if we're behind cover, that's a different thing. But if you're not, if you're like, say you're fixing a malfunction, say you're reloading, if you can move offline, move offline.
Yeah, yeah. And that's something you can do at home as well, right? You learn from a professional like you, the instructor, learn the techniques, and then you go back home and you hone skills like that. Get a gun that, you know, at least clicks so you can get that cadence down and times and all that. Or maybe in your head, you're just going bang, bang, bang.
Yep.
You know,
yeah, I mean,
something like that.
Whatever works, right? The brain doesn't terribly know the difference between real versus not real when we're in training, right? So as much as you map it in the brain and dry, it works just as well in live fire. So take the time, do it in dry fire. Again, you can do it at home in your tidy whities, right? You can do it easily at home. From there, then you can take it to the live range and work with it. So that way it has time to cement in your brain dry fire in a safe environment before we take it live.
Yeah, exactly. All right, I do. Do you have like 3 more minutes?
Yeah, brother, go for it.
Okay, I've got this last one that I wanted to play because this is you, and it's good that we're doing this at the end of the show because this clip is going to wear everyone out just watching it. This is you doing these exercises like we were talking about earlier, getting your heart rate up. And I was going to cut out because you do this for quite a bit. This is the one that's 3 minutes. I was going to cut out, but I want to give everybody the full picture of what exactly you were doing and how absolutely somewhat impossible for like me that I've never done something like this before. It would take me the entire time you made this video. It would take me that long just to do what you did through that until you do more repetitions. But it's a really cool drill. And because in the beginning I showed your shots were off a little bit, this one you nailed them, and you were like, talk about that high stress situation. You got that little 1 inch square, granted 5 yards away, but that 1 inch square. I don't know that many people under that type of stress and that quickly could do that. But let me play this. Like I said, this is going to wear people out. So, but this is something you were talking about earlier, as far as it doesn't have to be exactly like this, but whatever gets your blood pressure up, right?
Yeah, understand, for people watching this, it's not go out and do this. It's get your heart rate up. See what your abilities are with your heart rate up. Because if I'm here to kill you, rape you, steal you, do bad things to you, because I'm an evil person, your heart rate's going to be up. So know your body.
Yeah. Some people watching you with this dumbbell will be like, oh, no, that's not going to happen. But you're in that shape. You're able to do that. That's what you need to do to get your heart rate up. Some other people would be different. So yeah. Let me play this real quick.
Understand, when you fight, or maybe you're just pulling the gun in defense of yourself or somebody else, somebody you love, you must know your abilities. That means athletically too. It's not just shooting. And too often in the gun world, we focus on the shooting and not the athleticism side of it. So ultimately in this process, I'm gonna shoot 4 at that B8, I'm gonna shoot 2 at the face box, and then I'm gonna shoot 1 at the 1-inch squares up there. But I want you to see what I'm doing, because I think this is something that we, based on our own abilities and athleticism, should also incorporate in our training, because it's necessary when it comes to the fight of your life. So let's give it a try. Here we go.
Now, for everyone listening to the podcast, Adam's just jumping up and down. He's doing burpees and lifting dumbbells, and then he's going to shoot 3 separate times, I believe. And you thought he was done.
Let's go take a look at the target. On the B8, maybe this will show it. 10 ring, X ring, 10 ring, 9 ring. 2 to the face box, 1 to the 1-inch square.
Whew. That, like I said, everybody's probably going to take a break after watching that video. Hey, Laura said, was that a 40-pound dumbbell you're lifting?
Yes, it was a 40.
Hey. And then White Rabbit was also saying this is great, good training. Yeah. So like you said, I mean, I watched that and it's like, you know, maybe I could work myself up to that, talk to me in a couple of years or whatever. But at least doing maybe one set of those or just getting that heart rate up and then, trying to shoot. Something like that, possibly not. I mean, that's a routine. That right there could be just a workout. Do that a couple times a day.
So I was teaching down in Texas, I think 3 weeks ago. I had just some incredible people there, and it varied in ages, literally from like 20 to 70. And I'll tell you, it was so interesting to watch them go at the speeds with which got their heart rate up and going, and then doing these type of things, right? It's really, that video is really just try to promote several things. One, you must be mechanically proficient with your gun. You got to know how to run it well. Two, you got to know your body, and fitness is a thing, right? Bad guys want you unfit. So a little bit of fitness, but it was trying to motivate several things, right? Be good at the gun and maybe increase your fitness. Now combine the two just to see where you're at. And if there's anywhere you can improve, which, hey, all of us can improve. I'm not yet Arnold, right? I'm not yet I'm not some CrossFit monster anymore. I mean, we could all improve somewhere, but if it can motivate a little bit, because your fight when it comes, I promise you, is that intense. I have been there. It's that intense. So you got to know that too. So find something, get your heart rate up. Doesn't have to be much. Just do something, and over time increase it.
Yeah, exactly. And it goes to that first one we played with Kathy. I keep forgetting names today, man. But where it's our certain levels and just kind of getting, increasing that a little bit here and there, and understanding that it's not going to be that static situation. It's never going to be that static situation. And especially thinking about the things we think about as preppers, the things that we're trying to prepare for, it most definitely isn't going to.
And you think of it this way. If I know you're a prepper and I want your stuff, you've either bugged in or you've bugged out. And so if you've bugged in, I've got to come get you. So therefore, I'm going to try to ambush you by surprise, right? Or catch you completely off guard so I can take your stuff. If you've bugged out, it's no different. I'm going to probably try to ambush you by surprise. So you're going to be probably running, probably fighting on the ground, falling all over the place, ducking behind something. It's still going to be a fight. So therefore, all of this comes together. Have really good training, know your body, use your tools well. Yeah,
exactly. Kevin just said in the chat, and then we're going to get out of here tonight. Always go back and work on the basic fundamentals. People often forget. And people often forget that the longer and more often they train. And that's what we kind of talked about a couple of times was after you take your class like that, figure out ways you can just keep practicing those things, doing those things at home. Kevin is one that I did that first aid class with, Colorado Prepper Med. And you learn a lot of great stuff in the classes, but you got, if you don't constantly hone those skills and pay attention to them, you're just going to forget about them until the next time you take that class and you're like, oh yeah, I remember this.
Yeah. I mean, it's perishable. All this stuff is perishable, right? So just as you would cycle out your food supply, your water supply, this is perishable too. You should cycle it out. I mean, I just recently had a class and I had literally a world-class shooter in there. I'm thinking, why are you here? Because it's the fundamentals. And he's like, look, dude, he goes, it's a perishable skill. I need it re-plussed back up. Oh, okay. All right. And well, it's the same thing. These are perishable. Get your medical skills, get your shooting skills on, and recycle them, and always grow and learn, because it does go away. Yeah, exactly. All right. So Adam, one more time, let everyone know what you're doing. Like I said, I've got all the links below. You guys are doing quite a bit on YouTube. I forgot to mention the live streams. You guys are doing live streams every week too, right? Or is that every week? Yeah, no, we run them every week, Wednesday evening, 7 p.m. Mountain Time. And for those of you who've been watching the comments, if you see one that says Defenders Live, the host of that, Laura, just incredible. She's actually watching this too. She runs those, and we have some of the top defensive experts in the world there. And
great
it's not
guest.
just guns, right? We're talking financial, you name it. There's a lot of things that go under the word defend, right? So some just world-class, phenomenal experts on there that come on all the time. We have some great guests all the time. If you go to either the Defenders Live YouTube channel, please do subscribe. Also go to the Defenders USA YouTube channel. We need your subscribership. We'd love to have you. You can also find the same ones under the tab that says live. So there's those. You can find all of our stuff coming up on defenders-usa.com. as our website, defenders dash, you got to have the hyphen, defenders-usa.com. And of course, we got all the Facebook and Instagrams and Truth Socials and Rumbles and whatever. We've got different platforms. We'd love to have you there. We got different classes coming up. I mean, literally ranging from Texas to Montana. The majority of them are in Colorado and Arizona. And I saw somebody ask something about Grand Junction. Yeah, that's where the vast majority of our classes are. In fact, I'm teaching there, I don't know, on a Monday here soon after a national conference this next week. So I'll be teaching there, and I got a couple of different guys that teach right there in Grand Junction, and man, they are phenomenal. And the facility, because I think the question asked it, the facility is the Cameo Shooting and Education Complex. It's one of the largest ranges in America. So we use that. But we have all sorts of stuff coming up. and we would just love to have you. I saw a question come up: what sets you apart from other trainers? I'd tell you there's a lot of really good trainers out there. I'd tell you there's about 100, 150 trainers across America that I would trust myself or my family to. Unfortunately, there's a lot of trainers that hang up a shingle that I wouldn't, but I'd find the really good ones. And I'd say that, not saying we're set apart so much, but there's a deep well of at least love for the people that come to us. And we've spent a lot of time and effort developing our skill and what we've done. And we do our best to try to translate it to others and build skill in those that come to us as efficiently as possible. So I would say there's a lot of good ones out there, and I'd like to think we're amongst those. And I'm grateful to be trusted by some of the top names in the industry to come to me just as I would go to them. So if that helps there. But we'd love to spend time with your people. Come see us. We have some great deals on our classes, and I think they're worth your time, effort, and resources.
And like I've said a couple times, just go watch a few of their videos, watch the live streams, watch some of your drills videos, and even some of your funnier shorts and things like that. You'll get an absolutely perfect idea about what they can expect from you. And even if you're not doing things in their area, watching those live streams, you get these other instructors, and you get a good idea about who those good instructors are, and who can be not necessarily trusted, who's going to actually be worth the money, I suppose, and give you that training you need. And I've seen that from your videos that you're really good at teaching.
Yeah, you need to, whoever you're going to go to, spend time vetting them, really vet them, not just what they say, what their credentials say, because you can get instructor certifications almost anywhere, a dime a dozen, dependingly on where you go. But see what their reviews are, see what people say, do your research, know them well. Right. There's some great names out there. Go find good training. And we just hope we're part of that package for you too.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, hey, Adam, I've kept you here long enough, I think, a little bit over an hour now. So I completely appreciate you being on. This is something that I'm always interested to talk about, especially somebody with your experience, your background, somebody that really knows what they're talking about. Is something that I really am excited to learn more about in the future. Something that's just, some people like working on cars and stuff, and this is just something that really interests me, the getting better, getting good at all this stuff, and all the stuff that goes around the outside of it as well, the legal stuff, the moral stuff, everything involved with this. So I appreciate you joining in. Yeah, make sure everyone go over to Defenders USA, subscribe to their channel. If you're listening to this podcast tomorrow, you can go to the website. I'll have all these links, or you can just go to YouTube and type Defenders USA, and you can find it there, and the link to their website and everything. But Adam, I appreciate you being on tonight. And do you have anything else before we get out of here?
Dale, it's an honor. Thank you.
All right.
It's a humbling honor to be here and to meet your people, to talk to you. Since I'll be there in June, I'm hoping you and your wife, or either or both of you, will come out. Love to have you. But
I talked to her about it last night, and she's all giddy about it because she loves the learning aspect of it. Anything to make her more comfortable. Because like I was talking to you, she's a little bit apprehensive. I'll put it that way when it comes to some of the stuff. So
nothing wrong with that. Well, it's an honor. I got to tell you, you have such a good community. I've been watching your stuff for a bit here, and it's impressive. So thank you for who you are, what you're doing. It's needed, and glad to be a part of it.
Absolutely, and vice versa. Yeah, thank you very much. Everyone in the chat, appreciate you all joining in tonight. Everybody listening to the podcast. If you do have any questions for me, I'm sure you can get a hold of Adam from his website or whatever. Hey, we got a photo bomber. Or send me an email and I will forward it to Adam, get in touch with him. But very cool. Appreciate you joining with us tonight. Everybody in the chat, appreciate you all joining. Adam, stick around a little bit, and then we are going to get out of here. So everyone in the chat, take care and prepare. We will talk to you next time.